Secession, as being proposed by the IPOB, is the only panacea to the political challenges faced by Nigerians. Economics is on the affirmative, while law is on the negative. Ladies and gentlemen, we've already established the protocol. Now the debate will begin with the proposing side, economics. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Moderator, panel of judges, our curate timekeeper, co-debaters, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. My name is Adebayo Olujabi from the Department of Economics, here to prove to you that the only solution to the political problems being experienced by Nigerians lies in secession. But before I continue, I find it imperative to define the key terms of the argument, which are secession, IPOB, and political problems. According to dictionary.com, secession can be defined as the withdrawal of membership from a political union. IPOB, the indigenous people of Biafra, is a separationist group that is agitating for the separation of a number of states from the southeastern part of Nigeria. Political problems. These are problems that are related to, but not restricted to, party politics, political systems, environmental, social, and every other problem as deemed important by the voting public. Thus, in conclusion, and in summary, according to George Orwell, all problems are political problems. This topic already establishes the fact that Nigeria has political problems. Therefore, I'll be falsifying my argument with the following points. 1. The population of Nigeria creates political problems that can only find solution in secession. Nigeria is overpopulated. We can tell this by the inability of the state to utilize its resources and cater for the needs of its citizens. According to National Bureau of Statistics 2016, the gross domestic product of Nigeria was 405,100 million, and the population for that said year was 190 million. When we divide the GDP of the country by the population of the country, we get 2,132 naira, meaning that if there is an equal distribution of the nation's wealth, every Nigerian has 2,000 naira, 132 naira to cater for his needs for a particular year. How ridiculous. How then can we solve this problem of overpopulation that breeds political problems such as unemployment, increased crime rates, and congestion if we do not allow the Biafrans and every other interested party to secede? 2. The only solution to the irreconcilable difference between the Biafrans and the rest of Nigeria lies in secession. In 1967, there was a call for secession. That call was defeated. 50 years after, there is another call for secession, showing us that the call for secession is not limited to Odumegwu Ojukwu or Nnamdi Kanu. Rather, it is a sentiment shared by majority of the citizens that reside in the East, telling us that if we defeat the call for secession today, 50 years in the future, there is going to be another call for secession, bringing along with it its political problems. Thus, any other solution apart from secession to solve the political problems of Nigeria will only fail. On to the third point. Secession is the only solution to the marginalization of citizens in Nigeria. According to Ike Ekweremadu, the Deputy State President of Nigeria, he stated the marginalization of the Igbos is a reality in the Nigerian Federation. Therefore, if a major ethnic group such as Ndi-Igbo is being marginalized, what is the hope for minor ethnic groups such as Chamba and Zama in Nigeria? What? You have never heard about these ethnic groups. This is because they have been underrepresented and marginalized in Nigeria's politics. There is the popular adage that says, experience is the best teacher. But in this case, secession is going to be the experience that will teach Nigerian politicians and Nigerian politics that the marginalization and underrepresentation of any tribe, be it major or minor, is totally wrong, thus solving the problem of marginalization in Nigeria. Before I conclude, allow me to sensitize your minds against restructuring as a solution to political problems in Nigeria. Because in times past, Nigeria has been restructured from first having 12 states to 19 states to 21 states and to the 36 states we have today. And yet, political problems still abound, telling us that restructuring of the nation is not a viable solution to the political problems being faced by Nigerians. And finally, in conclusion, I must state with empathy that I understand the fear of every Nigerian as regards secession. I am a Nigerian. I feel these fears too. But we must understand that our amalgamation in 1914 was incompatible. Therefore, we must encourage ourselves to fight for the freedom of this false unity, because the only unity that retains for Nigeria in the future is in secession and standing as units. Thank you very much.
Resolved secession as proposed by IPOB cannot be the only panacea to the political challenges faced by Nigeria. The judges, co-debaters, audience, timekeeper, I duly extend all courtesies. I'm Adebayo Babcock of the Faculty of Law, yet to merely serve as a guide, leading you all to the inevitable conclusion that secession as proposed by IPOB cannot be the only panacea to the political challenges faced by Nigeria. Before I proceed, a demystification of key terms are imperative. Secession, according to Crawford in his book International Law, is a process of one state withdrawing from another state. IPOB, that is the indigenous people of Biafra, is a separatist group led by Nnamdi Kanu, wanting some southeastern states to break away from Nigeria and form the independent nation of Biafra. Panacea in simple terms means solutions to all problems and political challenges, according to Billman, is or are controversial issues debated within a political system, ranging from diversity social issues, state insecurity, state spending, government spending, foreign policy, and even the state structure, the party structure of the state. My team's standpoint today is that Nigeria's problem extends beyond the realms of tribalism and ethnic difference, and as such, the proposed decision, according to IPOB, cannot be the only panacea for Nigeria's political problems. And we shall be basing this argument on three premises. One, the secession plan, according to IPOB, is not feasible. Two, tribalism is only but a symptom of Nigeria's political challenges. And three, other practical issues. Now it is clear, for a movement to be feasible, it must be based on ideologies that are articulate enough to be remembered, thoughtful policies, and also agendas that must be put into serious control. Now a crude perusal of the publications of IPOB, the website of IPOB, and even listening to Radio Biafra shows that they have no agenda for secession. They have no international support, not to talk of a mission statement. All they have is a flag without a territory, currency without citizens, anthems fuel the promises of violence, all led by a charismatic toothless barking dog, Nnamdi Kanu, who has even been rejected by the very persons that he chooses to represent. Now take for instance, or take in contrast, the Catalans, who have had a referendum, who are supported by the international community, and who have an agenda for secession. That is a plan. You see, a plan that has no plan of how its plans will be planned out can never be the plan to support or to rescue the unstable political plan of Nigeria. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, James Blake in his work Redefining the Nation stated that 80% of times secession leads to a civil war, and Nigeria is not unknown to this fact. According to history.net, from 1967 to 1970, with 100,000 military casualties was caused as a result of the civil war, and over 8 million civilians lost their lives. Are we ready for another episode of war, death, and destruction? Distinguished students, welcome to DebateCast 401. I believe on the 2nd of November, my friend and economist par excellence, Bayo OG, taught you about the history of Nigeria. But today, I shall be your lecturers. So please put away your phones and close your textbooks, because we shall be playing the game. Who said this? The prize for this game, or the prize for the winner of this game, is the safety of Nigeria. Now, who said this? I call on all my people who have the know-how of how to manufacture bombs, ammunition, and arms to come forward. We must take this war to the zoo. Who said this? Osama bin Laden, A. B. Adolf Hitler, C. Nnamdi Kanu. Correct. The answer is C. And now you see that IPOB has no plan. What they have is a call by the IPOB's leader for all Igbos to wage war against Nigeria. This plan is not going to bring about solving of Nigeria's political challenges, but rather we plunge Nigeria further into a crisis of its own. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the preamble to the Nigerian Constitution provides that we are one indissoluble and indivisible sovereign state. Section 37 of the Criminal Code provides that all acts of treason, all acts against the unity of Nigeria are treasonable acts. Now the French will call a dog a shen, the Chinese will call it gu, the Yorubas will call it aja, the Igbos will call it inkita, but irrespective of what it is called, it remains a dog. In the same vein, many will call IPOB's proposed secession plan today freedom fighting, some self-determination. My opposition today are calling it the only panacea to Nigeria's political challenges, but irrespective of all this, it remains a treasonable act, an act that must be punished and can never solve the political problems of Nigeria. Distinguished judges, I have listened to the arguments of the opposition over and over again, and it remains clear that secession can never be the answer. Thank you.
to the Mises. No people and no part of a people shall be held against their will to be part of a political association that they do not want. All protocols duly observed. My name is Odlami Ayinde Cecilia, 300 level student of the Department of Economics, and I'm here to propose the motion that says secession has been proposed by IPOB is the only panacea to political challenges faced in Nigeria. I'll be basing my arguments off the following points. 1, secession is possible in Nigeria. It can solve the political challenges. 2, secession is the solution to the parasitical relationships that cause political problems in Nigeria. And thirdly, holding IPOB from its desire to secede will only cause multiple political challenges in Nigeria. 1, secession is the solution to political challenges in Nigeria. Now, my fellow Nigerians, let us put emotions away and be realistic. Unfortunately, the Nigerian reality is one plagued with political instability, corruption hiding and thriving in our failed system of government, laws, clashes, and continuous problems. Now, it is important to know that very soon, the cry for secession will become angry and loud, and then boom, we will have a war. But fear not, because the solution is in secession. Upon secession, the units of governments are smaller, and then it is easier to identify problems such as corruption. Upon secession, we can stop whatever planned war is coming. Upon secession, these clashes can end, and then the economic activities can come back to optimal. Secondly, holding IPOB against his desire will multiply the political problems. How? How do we intend to change the mindset of a man, of a Biafran man that has existed for over many years? Let me remind you that human beings are a creature of habit and of beliefs. We cannot just suddenly flip his mind like that. Now, it is important to know that if we cannot put together people who have opposing ideas and belief and expect them to live in the same country. Now, it is also important to know that this will only encourage political problems, and these political problems will further worsen the political image of Nigeria. What would this do? This will decrease foreign and private investments, which will increase unemployment rate, which will also increase crime rate, and you see multiplications of political problems. Lastly, secession is the solution to the parasitical relationships that cause political problems in Nigeria. According to the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, as reported by the Nigerian Voice, on the 20th of June 2017, the entire Southeast internally generates revenue that is less than the internally generated revenue of Ogun State. This is parasitic for the Nigerian government. In the North, the Northerners are crying that the Igbo Christians are parasites to them. In the South and West, they are crying that the overpopulated Igbos are a parasite to them. The Igbos are crying that the Northern-dominated government is a parasite to them. My fellow Nigerians, we cannot put together a body that everyone already sees as separate. Now, it is important to now finally note that only through secession can Nigerians find solution to their political problems. Thank you.
Resolved. Tribalism and political instability are Nigerian political challenges. Resolved. Secession superficially solves these problems, but the Nigerian belief that the Nigerian political structure is the root of all our problems and secession is the answer is a ghost that has haunted Nigeria since independence. And so today, I will be your ghostbuster. Standing on existing protocol is Morenikeji Akinshe, here to buttress the points of my chief speaker. My arguments today shall be based on highlighting the various political challenges facing Nigeria, from corruption, embezzlement, misappropriation of funds, down to terrorism, and how secession, as proposed by the IPOB, cannot be the only panacea to these political challenges. First of all, corruption. I am Nigerian. I've got the passion, poison, and power of corruption inside my DNA. Corruption has become the trademark of Nigeria, and the state of things have deteriorated so badly to the point that Transparency International ranked our country to be one of the most corrupt for 4 years in a row. The question then is, how does secession solve the problem of corruption? Will angels suddenly descend from heaven in their white garments to rule the disintegrated Nigeria? Will our leaders stop pursuing their selfish and greedy interests? Secession does not solve Nigeria's greatest political problem, and anyone that argues the contrary should take the mask off. Secondly, the political problem of terrorism. A terrorist, as defined by the Oxford Learner's Dictionary, is any person who uses violence or intimidation in the pursuit of their political aims. On the 11th of November 2017, the Vanguard newspaper reported that the IPOB threatened voters in Anambra State not to participate in elections. And I quote, "If you vote, you will die." Ladies and gentlemen, terrorism. So let me break down what our topic today suggests. That we use an illegal suggestion made by a terrorist organization to solve Nigeria's problem of terrorism. How could we have been so blind? Why then are we fighting the Boko Haram insurgency in the north? Let's just allow Biafra to secede in the east, and voila, all our problems are solved. Secession does not bring an end to the crippling political problem of terrorism. And again, anyone that argues the contrary should take the mask off. Finally, we need to understand that Nigeria's political problems do not see race, age, tribe, ethnicity, or geographical location. We suffer these problems collectively, and as such, secession cannot solve them. Ineffective governance, how does secession solve this? Antiquated leaders, how does secession solve this? Crippling electoral malpractice every 4 years, how does secession solve this? Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I am Nigerian. I've got loyalty and royalty inside my DNA, and together we have to take the mask off and say no to IPOB's suggestion that secession is the only solution to the political problems of our nation. Thank you.
In Nigeria, we are faced with revenue allocation problem, religious crisis, and the most damaging of all, corruption. Standing on existing protocols, I am Momole Ayobami Omombonike from the great Department of Economics of Babcock University. Secession, as proposed by the IPOB, will solve the political challenges of Nigeria through review of the constitution, review of our source of revenue, and solution to the religious crisis in the north. It is no longer news that the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria fails to provide solutions to the problems that currently face Nigeria. If Biafra is to secede, there has to be a referendum. If there has to be a referendum, there has to be a constitutional amendment. Now, let me tell you, the constitutional amendment will give Nigeria the opportunity to make rules and regulations that will provide solutions, long-lasting solutions to the problems that we currently face in Nigeria. Now, let's talk about the headache in Nigeria, corruption. Secession has been proposed by Biafra. Will take away the oil-producing states. Now, let me tell you, this is a blessing to the Nigerian economy and politics. Why? We will be forced to diversify our economy. And according to Chris Okotie, on 10th of December 2016, he said the concentration on oil revenue is the root of all looting of the Nigerian treasury. Why? Because it has bred a lazy and corrupt political class. Secession by Biafra is going to offer solutions to this corruption that has been caused by oil revenue in Nigeria. Finally, religious crisis in the north. If there's a Biafra secession, the Igbos are forced to leave the north. And when they leave the north, the religious and ethnic crisis and the tension that is currently in the north will end. Will secession, as proposed by Biafra, solve the problem of corruption? Yes. Will it solve the problem of revenue allocation? Yes. Will it solve the problem of religious crisis? Yes. Other methods, have they worked? No. Therefore, secession has been proposed by the IPOB is the only panacea to the political challenges of Nigeria. Thank you.
Dear Lord, as I speak tonight, let bias diminish and the truth forever remain in the heart of my audience. Turn with me to the book of James 2:14. And faith without works is dead, being alone. Deductively, even if we concede to the argument, for the sake of argument, that secession is a solution to the problem of political challenges faced by Nigeria, secession is not only the solution to the problem of political challenges faced by Nigeria. All protocol duty observed by me. I am Adeniyi Adedapo from the prestigious Faculty of Law, here to reiterate points made by my speakers and provide viable and sustainable solutions that will bring about the development of the Nigerian state politically resolved. Secession can not only be the solution to the political challenges that face Nigeria. In a report by Mike Ezojuku on the 25th of March 2017, in his article titled, overview of the political issues in Nigeria, causes and solution. He said, political and self-realization, religious understanding, and a total eradication of corruption is the solution to the political challenges that bedevil Nigeria. In a report by former President Olusegun Obasanjo during the African Leadership Forum, he said, a complete reorientation and understanding of the principle, leadership and Nigeria will resolve these problems. Let's assume that the fallacious reasoning of secession is premised on the fact that King Solomon will travel back in time with his infinite wisdom to rule the supposed seceded states. Need I remind you that the same greedy, corrupt, dishonest, unprincipled, and disloyal politicians will steer the affairs of leadership, amounting to an oscillating Nigeria. The solution to the problems that face Nigeria's politics lies in the eradication of corruption, lies in the implementation of policies, and a complete overhaul of the political system. Now, even for the sake of argument, I beg everyone today to listen to my recommendations and believe that secession is not the solution. Prosperity we pray, secession never. Thank you.
Standing on existing protocols, I'll start my rebuttals by, first of all, countering one of the feasible solutions that was given by my opponent by telling them that there is no country without corruption, but what we have is countries with low corruption rates. But my opponent suggested that a total eradication of corruption is the solution. This solution is not feasible. I'll continue my rebuttal by saying that secession, as proposed by the first speaker from the opposing side, is not the cause for the civil war. Rather, the cause for the civil war was the unwillingness of the government, of the interim government of that time, to let go of the secessionists. That was the call for the civil war, not the secession itself. My opponents have also made the call for secession by a people sound like a treasonable act under the Constitution, a people that have cried that they are being marginalized. And my opponents have suggested that the solution to this secession is that they should be punished for crying for secession, when in actuality, secession is not an illegal thing. And lastly, Biafrans actually have international support, as opposed negatively by my opponents. They said Biafrans do not have international support. Biafrans have international support because Nigeria is a member state of the United Nations, which allows for self-determination of the people. Thank you very much.
Once again, I do extend all courtesies. My rebuttals today shall be based on the acronym DA square. D stands for demystification, A stands for accuracy, and the last A stands for accountability. Now, demystification. The topic of today says secession as proposed by IPOB will be the panacea to all the political challenges of Nigeria. Not secession of every state in the country. Secession as proposed by IPOB. Secession as proposed by IPOB is the withdrawal of a few southeastern states from Nigeria to form the independent nation of Biafra. So the secession of southeastern states forming Biafra is not going to bring an end to corruption, because we will still have corruption within the other states in the country. Secession as proposed by Biafra will not bring an end to unemployment that is already inherent within the other states of the country. Secession as proposed by IPOB is not going to bring a solution to unaccountability. Now, moving to the second point, accuracy. The second speaker mentioned something about southeastern states generating less revenue than Ogun State. I have with me the Economics Confidence Magazine report, and in total, all 9 southeastern states form of Biafra generated a total of 166,375,575,296 naira, as opposed to Ogun State that generated 72,983,122,000, just to mention a few. Accuracy. And finally, accountability. Corruption caused by all revenue will not bring about accountability. Corruption, tension in the north, revenue allocation, unemployment cannot all just be solved by secession as proposed by IPOB. Because secession as proposed by IPOB will leave other states. Now, other states will still have to battle with the issue of tension. Other states will still have to battle with the issue of revenue allocation. And finally, on the 20th of September 2017, a federal high court defined IPOB as a terrorist organization. Nigeria will never negotiate with terrorists. Thank you.
I heard from the opposing side have actually been tried by Nigeria, and they have all failed. So my question to the opposing side is, what are the workable solutions that you suggest to the political problems of Nigeria? Emphasis on workable solutions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bayo, for that question. Okay, you said so many of these solutions have been tried by Nigeria, and you want me to give workable solutions. Now, I must first go to the root of these problems. Now, the root of these problems are not the Nigerian state. The root of these problems are the Nigerian people in ourselves. The very moment we are able to bring about a reformation of our mind, secession, whether proposed by IPOB or even the ROI youth group, will not be necessary. When we begin to forget about going to other states to practice menial jobs and not being able to practice those menial jobs in our own country, when we begin to forget about flying in business cars and drinking champagne alone, when we begin to think of what is going to be the betterment of our country, that point in time is when we are going to bring about an end to all clamor for underdevelopment in the country. Secession is not just the answer. Other solutions exist.
The second question would emanate from the fact that the major reasons why Nigerians will travel to go and do menial jobs in other countries and not reside in Nigeria is because many political problems abound in Nigeria. And so, continuing to the question, considering that many political problems abound in Nigeria, would you, in your honest opinion, say that the amalgamation of Nigeria in 1914 was compatible? It's a dichotomous question, yes or no, sir?
No.
Thank you. Considering that the amalgamation, this is the third question, considering that the amalgamation of Nigeria was not compatible in 1914, why then are we against secession of an incompatible amalgamation?
Thank you very much, Mr. Bai. I must applaud you for the depth of your question. First of all, I believe that the amalgamation of Nigeria in 1914 was not compatible. But that is our history. We cannot control the history. This is our present. We control what happens in our present. And in our present, we stand as one unified country. Secession is not the way. We have to stay together as one united front to fight against all the political challenges of Nigeria. The history teaches us the lesson, but the present today determines what will happen and where we are going to get to. Thank you. All right. So the topic of today says, secession as being proposed by IPOB is the only panacea to the political challenges faced by Nigeria. Now, IPOB, may I remind you that IPOB is not the only agitation group for the Biafrans. Now, IPOB is just a mini group which has become the loudest group for the sake of time. So, are you saying secession as proposed by IPOB that has been known for violence? Now, let me quote one of the speeches of Nnamdi Kanu. He says, I will go to Abuja, and when I am coming back to me, I will bring the head of Buhari with me. Now, this is an act of violence. This is a statement of violence. Are you saying that secession as proposed by IPOB, are you saying that secession, as proposed by IPOB, which is basically based on the use of violence, will bring about an end to the political challenges of Nigeria? Because I believe what it will bring about is war, death, and destruction.
To answer that question, there's a popular adage that says, when you come out with people with knives, you don't expect them to smile at you. The only reason why Nnamdi Kanu will make these allegations to Muhammadu Buhari is because the Nigerian government has marginalized the Igbos and boxed them to a corner. Now, to answer your question about if secession will solve the political problems of Nigeria, I strongly believe that secession will solve the political problems of Nigeria because many and all other solutions that are visible to Nigerians have been tried, and secession is the only solution that hasn't been tried. So yes, secession will solve the political problems of Nigeria. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I cannot ask you the same question again because you did not answer my question. I said secession as proposed by IPOB, but I am going to leave that. I didn't say secession, I said secession as proposed by IPOB. Now I am going to leave that. And move on to my next question. Now, while you were answering this question, you mentioned something about marginalization of people. Could you please explain what you mean by marginalization of people?
As explained in my presentation of points during my first 5 minutes, Ike Ekweremadu, the Deputy Senate President of Nigeria, stated that the marginalization of Igbo in Nigeria is a reality, meaning that the Igbos have been subjected to underrepresentation in Nigeria. The Igbos, the voice of the Igbos has been reduced in Nigeria. Marginalization and underrepresentation in Nigeria is a reality that many ethnic groups, such as Zama, Chamba, ethnic groups that we do not hear of, have suffered. That is marginalization.
Thank you very much once again. To my final question. Now, you mentioned the Deputy Senate Speaker. Oh, first of all, while you were debating, you tied marginalization to the need for self-determination. You tied marginalization to the need for self-determination. Or you mentioned self-determination as one of, you mentioned self-determination. Now, the Deputy Senate Speaker is a secondary source. Now, I'm going to give you a primary source. According to the United Nations Development of Human Rights, it's a convention by the United Nations. It defines what marginalization should be. And it's United Nations Convention is a primary convention because it has been enacted by the Nigerian government. So it remains a law within our country. It's a primary law. Now, this law provides for the ingredients of marginalization. Yes? Provides for the ingredients of marginalization. And the ingredients of marginalization includes killing of the peoples of a political tribe. Now, we'll consider what happened in Rwanda, the Hutus and the Tutsis, as the killing of the people of a particular tribe. It is genocide. Genocide. Also, it considers total deviation from all their political rights. From what I believe, the different states of Biafra still have their representation in the House of Senate. They still have their representation in the House of Representatives. What this means is that they are still being represented. Now, with the explanation I have given you, based on a primary source of what self-determination and marginalization would be, do you still consider your definition of marginalization to be marginalization, and why?
Thank you. Still standing on existing protocol. My opponent, first of all, said that the statement made by the Deputy Senate President of Nigeria is a secondary source, and said that the United Nations statement for the definition of marginalization is a primary source. But I remember that every state has sovereignty, meaning that I would like to take the statement made by Ike Ekweremadu as a primary source, while taking the definition of United Nations as a secondary source. And now to answer the question. Then to answer the question. And to answer the question, decorum, please. To answer the question posed by my opponent gave examples of Rwanda and how there was genocide in Rwanda, that should be one of the components for the definition of marginalization. But I would like to put it to you that during Operation Python Dance, Nigerian military also killed members of Biafra, meaning that one of the components for your definition of marginalization is already included in the situations of the Biafran people. So yes, my definition for marginalization still stands, and I believe that my definition for marginalization is correct. Thank you so much, judges.
Very satisfactory. We are very happy with what you brought onto the table. We commend your dressing, both groups. We commend your composture. That was excellent. We commend also your grammar. We failed to observe it the other time, but the grammar for the two groups, very good. And then your eloquence is very commendable. However, we believe that your question and answer, you shouldn't overbuild on your background. So to box your opponent into a corner because you build arguments rather than ask questions. Both groups, you ought to work on that. And we also believe that the questions should come from the presentations. We find questions that have been preconceived, questions that are not based on what has been said by the opponent, and we think that shouldn't be the case. Now, for the comments about the judges, I just wanted to ask, where's political science in this debate? The debate has been all over about political issues, but they are nowhere to be found. The panel of judges here, we are qualified. Thank you very much.
So, I'd like to commend these two groups. You guys did excellently well. Y'all need to calm down, all right? It'll be said tonight. Okay, here we go. Economics. First judge scored you 68.1. Second judge, 80. Third judge, 84. Giving us a total of 78 points. Lord, you had 63.3, followed by 93, and finally 87, giving you them 81. So it's 81 to 78. Lord is our finalist for this.
Okay, please, just a minute.
I have waited patiently. I have vision, though I believe. I know I can count.
The presentation will happen, please. Please, can we have the presentation? Can we have the presentation of the trophy?
For the champions, stand up. For the champions,
let us have the
stand up. Stand up. Stand up. For the champions, stand up.
Dr. Chibweze.
Here we go, it's getting close. Now it's just who wants it most. It's just life, that's how it is. Cause we have our strengths and weaknesses. Oh, I have vision, can't you see? I'm on the
please,
move,
can we leave the stage, please?
Stand up.
Please, can we leave the stage, please? Please, can we exit the stage now, please?
Stand up.
Thank you.
Stand up. For the champions, stand up. For the champions,
we'll invite the associate, we'll invite the vice president for student development to present the second place trophy to economics. The second place trophy will be presented to economics by Professor Joseph Oleraju, Vice President for Student Development. Now we invite the VC, the President Vice Chancellor, Professor Tayo, to present the trophy to the winner. Thank you. That is the VC presenting the overall winner's prize to Law and Security Studies. Winners of the 7th edition of the Babcock University Inter-Departmental Debate 2017. Thank you very much, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. And this brings to a close the season 7 of the Babcock University Inter-Departmental Debate. We'd like to thank everyone, the President, Vice Chancellor, Professor Tayo, the Vice President Student Development, Professor Olariwaju, the Associate Vice President Student Development, Dr. Tolani Williams, everyone who has contributed in making this season's debate an interesting one. Thank you, everyone. See you at season 8, 2018. God bless you all and good night.